Hey guys, it's Viva, and today I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up. I read 6 books in December, which, considering the fact that I had 2 weeks of holidays, isn't a lot, but I spent a lot of my time watching Netflix and movies, so don't hate. Also, 2 of the books that I read in December are really long, so they could probably count as 2. So the first 4 books that I read were a reread. I was rereading the Twilight series because, I don't know, I just wanted to have a Twilight marathon, so I read all the books and then watched all the films one after the other. Conveniently, they were on TV as well, so that worked out really well. So the first book in the Twilight series is, of course, Twilight. I'm just going to briefly go over what this is about. So vampire meets human, human falls for vampire, vampire falls for human. Bad things happen. They're basically in love. The vampire world is too dangerous for a fragile, annoying little human like Bella, but she manages to get by quite well until these rogue vampires turn up at the baseball game that the Cullen family are playing, and they are not the same as the Cullen family in the sense that they're not vegetarians, so they eat humans rather than animals like the Cullen family. One of the visitors is called James, and he is a tracker, so he likes tracking down humans just to make his dinner time more exciting. So Bella is there with them, and after getting a whiff of her supposedly very delicious smell, he decides to track her, and everything goes a bit crazy. They try to protect her by taking her to Phoenix, which is her old home, but James somehow gets to her, and Bella, being Bella, decides to sacrifice herself to save her mother, who she thinks James has got. But that turns out to be a ruse, and things, happen, as I say, and it's a happy ending. It's fine. She goes to prom. All is well. This is actually probably one of my favourite in the series, I'd say, so I gave it a 5 out of 5. The next book in the Twilight series is New Moon. This one I don't like very much because I am Team Edward, and there is a hell of a lot of Jacob in this book, and I don't have anything against Jacob, but Jacob can get a little bit pushy at times, which is why I don't really like him in this book. The lack of Edward in this book has just made me not appreciate it as much. So in this one, Edward decides to leave Bella for her own good. She is just not coping at all. She was basically a walking, talking corpse. I like the way that they did it in the film, actually. They do a full rotation of her sitting in her room, looking like Bella. Monotonous expression. But the seasons are changing, and I just like the way that they portray that. But yes, so she finally starts to get some life into her when her dad, Charlie, recommends that she goes and visits Jacob down at La Push, and they become really close friends, and things get slightly better until Bella decides to jump off a cliff. Yeah, stupid Bella. I'm not going to go any further than that. I don't want to spoil it. Because of the lack of Edward, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, purely for that reason. So the third book that I read, and the third book in the Twilight saga, is Eclipse. Don't ask why I have the movie editions of the first 2 and then the normal editions of this one. I'm weird. In this one, Jacob is very pushy. Very pushy in this one, so that got on my nerves slightly. This one is basically Edward and Jacob fighting over Bella. Victoria, who is James's mate, who I mentioned is in the first book, is really annoyed at the Cullens and very angry and wants revenge because something happened to James, and decides that the best way to get revenge is by killing Bella. Yay, more vampires after Bella. So the werewolves and vampires decides to work together. Oh, by the way, did I mention that Jacob's a werewolf? I don't think I did before, but there you go. Jacob's a werewolf, and vampires and werewolves are enemies, but they decide to work together to help save Bella, and that is what happens in this book. Again, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The last book in the Twilight saga is Breaking Dawn, and again I have the normal cover of this, but anyway, this is my favourite out of all 4 of them, because Now, even though I have said that I don't like Jacob, the fact that a third of this book is in Jacob's point of view, I just really enjoyed it for a change, because I do prefer him to Bella. Let's be honest. Bella's voice is so irritating. Just moaning all the time, so it was a nice change to have Jacob, who is quite humorous and sarcastic, and I just love how much he hates Rosalie and makes the blonde jokes about her. It's hilarious. So in this one, Edward and Bella get married, and they go for a honeymoon, and Bella ends up getting pregnant. So she's pregnant with who knows, because they've never seen anything like it. So they're really scared. Edward is terrified. He wants Bella to get rid of the thing, but Bella becomes really attached and seeks Rosalie's guidance and support. So that's when Jacob's point of view comes in. And then after that, she gives birth to the child and becomes a vampire herself. I don't personally like the vampire Bella, I prefer human Bella, which is saying a lot. But someone sees their child, Renesmee, and thinks that she is an immortal child, which is a serious offence in the vampire world. It's basically turning a child into a vampire, and that's an offence because children are a lot less easily controlled and they can't be taught very easily. So for that reason, the Volturi, who are basically the Ministry of Magic but for vampires, decide to come and completely annihilate the entire Cullen clan, and they decided to get witnesses and friends to support them, and yeah, that happens. So this book is very long. This is one of the books I was saying could count as 2. Yes, this is my favourite out of the saga, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, I'm so happy that I got. It was an early birthday present from my mum because she knew that I wanted it, and so got it for me and gave it to me before Christmas. And it's Winter by Marissa Meyer, the final book in the Lunar Chronicles. This is a hell of a big book. It has 820 something pages, so could definitely count as 2 books. But it is so goddamn good. I finished it so quickly, like as quickly as I could in the middle of going to college and trying to do work and stuff like that. It's the final book. Like I've said in so many of my previous videos, I'm not going to be talking too much about the Lunar Chronicles because I'm going to be doing a whole video on them, but just to get a gist of it, there's an evil queen, Queen Levana, who has to be destroyed because she is just basically evil. So they're trying to take her down, and Cinder is trying to become the queen, and yeah, things happen, lots of things happen. I got very scared and very emotional, but yes, obviously I would definitely just give this a 5 out of 5 stars if you haven't guessed already. The Lunar Chronicles is one of my favourite series, so it had to get a 5 out of 5. But yes, I'm going to mention this again. Please do stay tuned because I will be uploading a video soon, hopefully, with my entire review of the Lunar Chronicles. The last book that I read in December, Fans of the Impossible Life by Kate Skelser. I hadn't heard of this book at all, so I was quite intrigued to see what it was going to be about and was quite excited to just dive straight in. So it follows the story of 3 people, Mira, Jeremy and Sebi, who are sort of troubled kids. Mira suffered from depression and chronic fatigue syndrome, which meant that she's quite antisocial, doesn't really get on with many people, is always feeling really tired. So that's Mira, and her portions of this book are told in 3rd person. Then you have Jeremy, whose chapters are told in 1st person, and he is just a very shy person. His parents are both guys, so he has gay dads. He himself is gay, and after an incident that happened the previous year, he's become very secluded and spends a lot of time with one of his favourite teachers, Peter. And I felt that he was the central character to this story because his chapters were told in 1st person. And then there was Sebi. There was very little of Sebi. He lives in a foster home, is best friends with Mira, doesn't attend school. His chapters are told in 2nd person. So for example, it says, it was early 6 a.m. when you woke up in Jeremy's room. So a little strange. I found it a little hard to get my head around Sebi. He turns out to be Jeremy's love interest, as he is gay as well. He ends up getting sidetracked and going into the wrong line, drugs and that sort of thing. I really like reading books about mental health issues, like All the Bright Places. It was a truly magical book because it explores so many different issues. It covers friendship and loneliness, mental health issues, suicide, depression, so many things, so many different concepts, and I loved it, but the ending I thought was a little bit disappointing. I'm not going to say anything about it. I really also thought that the 3 different viewpoints were really effective. Jeremy's especially, because you got an actual insight into his feelings and thoughts. Mira's again was fine, third person, you know, I'm used to it, but it was just Sebi's. I haven't read a book that's in second person before, so like I've said, it was a little bit hard to get my head around, but overall it was an incredible book. But because of the ending, I'm going to put my score down a little bit to 4 out of 5 stars. That's the end of my December wrap up. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!